In this exercise, we are going to start with this sketch and we will end up with this illustration. File, place, exercise 16, check template. Now we're gonna start drawing. We're gonna start with the blue sky. For that, I'm gonna need the rectangle tool. I'm gonna set this to none, the stroke to none, and set the fill to this shade of blue. I'm gonna double click. I'm gonna click on S and choose a lighter shade of this blue. Click OK. Now I'm gonna create a rectangle like this. I'm gonna swap fill and stroke for now, and I'm gonna draw the birds using the pen tool. Deselect the rectangle. I'm gonna set the stroke to black and stroke weight to 10 points. I'm gonna zoom like this and draw 1 point here. Click and drag. Click here, anchor, and continue. Click and drag. Now I can press escape. V, selection tool. I'm gonna select this and change the width profile to width profile 1, like this. Now I can go ahead and duplicate this multiple times by pressing Alt, like this, and I can duplicate. Just like this. Now I can select the rectangle I drew earlier and then swap fill and stroke. Now I'm gonna select everything, select and then click on all, or use the shortcut Control A. Now I'm gonna object and hide everything, hide selection, click, and now I can start drawing the mountains. We're gonna start with the mountains in the background and then we will do the mountains in the foreground. For this I need the pen tool. Gonna set this to none, no fill, and stroke to black for now. Stroke weight 10 points. I need to zoom like this, and I'm gonna start drawing from here. Click and drag like this, click and drag like this, click and drag here, click and drag here, click and drag here, click and drag here, and click and drag here. I'm gonna continue to the other mountain in the background. Click and drag here, click and drag here, click and drag here, and click and drag here. Now I can go ahead and close the path like this. I can use the direct selection tool if I want to. If I want to adjust a few things. Of course, this part doesn't matter because it is going to be covered with the other mountain. Okay, now we did this. I'm gonna move to the mountains in the foreground, go back to pen tool, and gonna start drawing from here. Click and drag, click and drag like this, click and drag like this, click and drag like this, click and drag like this. Alt, we're gonna shorten this part. Click and drag like this. And click and drag like this. Now I can go ahead and close the path. Direct selection tool if I want to adjust a few lines like this. And I'm gonna move to the next mountain, pen tool. I'm gonna start from here. Click and drag a little bit. Click and drag a little bit here. A little bit here. Click and drag here. Click and drag here. Click and drag. And click and drag here. Now I can close the path and move to the next. I'm gonna start from here. Click and drag. Click and drag like this. Click and drag like this. Click and drag and click and drag here. Now I can close the path. Direct selection tool, I can go back and adjust a few things if I want to. Now we're done with the drawing. V selection tool, I'm gonna select this mountain in the background. I'm gonna set the fill to, set the stroke to none, and set the fill to this shade of brown. Now I'm gonna select the three mountains in the foreground, set the stroke to none, and set the fill to this shade of brown, a darker shade of brown. And now I can select all, Control A, and object, hide everything, and click on selection. Now I can focus on drawing the ground and the river. That's what I'm gonna do now. Go back to pen tool, set the fill to none. I'm gonna set the stroke to this shade of green. I'm gonna set this to 10 points. I'm gonna start from here. Click and drag like this. I'm gonna click and drag like this. And go here and click and drag like this. Now I can close the path just by making straight lines like this. And then I can click on swap fill and stroke and have a green ground, but I have to draw the river first. That's what I'm gonna do now. Select, deselect. I'm gonna select this tool now, curvature tool. Gonna set the color to this shade of blue, and I'm gonna start drawing the river from here. Click, 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 click. Notice I'm drawing a line inside the river. Click, click again, and the last point I'm gonna put it here. I can move it later on, but that's not a problem. Press escape. Now I'm gonna choose the width tool, click, and I'm gonna put the cursor right here, and then click and drag like this, make it super thick. Go, click and drag until I reach the limit, and then I let go. I'm gonna go to the other side, and I'm gonna do the opposite. I'm gonna make it super thin here, all the way. Now I can go back to curvature tool, and I can move this point right here. I can move the points to make them match the sketch. Like this. And even though it's not exactly like the sketch, doesn't look exactly like the sketch, that's not a problem. I still think it looks good. Now select, deselect, V, selection tool. I'm going to select this part, and I'm going to click on swap fill and stroke. Now we have the green ground. I think I'm going to change the color to this shade of green. I think this looks better. And I'm gonna select both of these, the river and the ground, and object, hide selection. Now I'm gonna focus on the last part, which is the flag. I zoom like this. I'm gonna need the ellipse tool. I'm gonna set the fill to none, set stroke to black, and 20 points for the width. I'm gonna draw an ellipse like this. Press Ctrl. I'm gonna rotate. Change the size a little bit, make it match the sketch, the position of the sketch. And now width tool, I'm gonna click here and make this part thicker like this, and I'm gonna click here, click and drag, and make this part a little bit thinner like this. And now we get this ellipse. I think it looks good. Deselect. I'm gonna select the line segment tool. I'm gonna draw a line from here to here. I'm gonna set this to 100 and set the color to orange. Now we have this super thick line. I'm gonna click on the width tool, and I'm gonna make this part thin like this. Go all the way. Select, deselect. I'm gonna go to line segment tool. Draw a line like this. Gonna make this black. Gonna set the stroke weight to, let's say, 20. Width tool, and I'm gonna make this thicker, and this I'm gonna make it a little bit thinner like this. And I'm gonna change the color from black to this dark brown. Selection tool, I'm gonna select this ellipse now. I'm gonna choose this shade of brown, and for the fill I'm gonna choose this shade of brown. Now we have the flag. I'm gonna select all the parts, right click, and then group all the parts together, just like this. I'm gonna duplicate the flag now, but before I do that, I have to make sure I click here, or click here, transform panel, and then make sure I check scale, strokes, and effects. Now I can press Alt, duplicate like this. I'm gonna press Shift and change the size like this. And put it where it needs to be. I'm gonna duplicate one more time. Gonna make it a little bit bigger like this. Duplicate one more time, Alt, press Shift and make it very small like this, and put it where it needs to be. I think I'm gonna rotate a little bit like this, and I'm gonna place it right here. Now I'm gonna bring back what I drew earlier, all the things I drew, object, and then I'm gonna click on show all. I'm gonna zoom. I'm gonna make sure everything is fine. Gonna put this a little bit down like this, and I think everything looks fine. The exercise now is finished. You go do the same, and don't forget to save.